dog walk with those two, and a gravel road here today. It's a little windy, so I'm not walking out today, even though I think it's supposed to get nicer. And I did 2 of these the last 2 days and haven't put them up as I don't know, I'll put them up so you can enjoy my little quips. But today I'm going through a little scenario with my Toddler, my 2.5-year-old boy. We're trying to get him off his passy, and let's say we've tried before without much avail, because it's just a challenge with 2 others and all the other craziness. And yeah, not a lot of sleep last night with one complaining and ugh. Anyways, how that relates to AgTech, well, I think plenty have had the passy in their mouth for probably a lot longer than they really need to have it. You know, I didn't call it, I would say it's money is a big thing. They've maybe had, you know, they've had those funds for a long time from investors or whatnot. But I also say there's been the marketing side of it too, and the hype cycles have kind of propped them up to be, oh, they're doing this, they're changing the world, you know, feeding the world, whatever, that old crappy trope of just BS. You know, sure, there's a point to it, but also not, and it's just annoying to hear. So by the way, if you have "we're helping feed the world by 2050" or something like that on your website, just take it down. People like literally get turned off by it these days. I just would take it down. But to the passy point, you know, we've maybe been talking about some of the AgTech solutions, and I don't know, maybe too high of a light. It's not that there isn't plenty good out there, like I've said many times. But when I think of a pacifier, it is a, you know, it's a thing that keeps my kid feel, oh, nice and warm, but it impedes him. It'll impede his speech. It just gets in the way of arguments that he needs it, you know. And that's how toddlers are, you know. It is what it is. And you know, some kids like them, some kids don't. Well, sometimes some shouldn't have one because it causes other problems, and maybe that's what some of these AgTech solutions, you know, they don't need, they haven't needed, and they shouldn't have been built with a ton of investment money. I'll say a great example that I've near and dear to when it comes to, call it, using satellite imagery and doing that in ag. No satellite imagery company in ag needs $50 million that uses satellite imagery. I just, it doesn't need that. I'm sorry. There's other things too. Some of these smaller apps never needed $10-20 million. And Walt Duflog made a good point of this in a post, I think last week, of we need more, you know, smaller minimal viable products that maybe can be built for 50 to 100 grand, and see what they do first in these niches, instead of we put a ton of money and we just see what happens. Like, I mean, there's certain things in ag that maybe needs a lot of money. I get that, you know. Some of the biological stuff, maybe because of just the distribution and the creation of it, I kind of get that. Of course, I think some of that's maybe overdone a lot too. Some of the robotic stuff, oh gosh, maybe, but some of that's way too much too. But I get, you know, some of the development, some of the big spray drone stuff, yeah, that probably needs quite a bit too, and that's needed on a broader sense, so I kind of get that. Some robotic stuff though, yeah, no, you don't need that much money. You need to build something, test it out, make sure it works, that people actually care or want it. It might work, it might do its exact job that it's supposed to do, but how many people will actually actually buy it and use it? 50 people? I don't know. Depends on what it is. But you can't go off that and raise $20 million on a hope that you might sell. You're not going to sell to tens of thousands of people on these things. And as I talk about in some of my other ones that I haven't posted yet, which I will here shortly, there just isn't a need for some of this stuff in the way it is, and how farmers are and how ag is. We're just not ready for it. We don't need these huge things necessarily to change the world. And sometimes starting a little smaller, a little more conservative, few people, just see how these things work is kind of, I think it'll be a better chance. So we don't need a passy in our mouth to necessarily guide us along on these things either. But some things we do, maybe, but it's not necessarily a passy. I think that is more of a short-term band-aid of sorts for a crying child. And while I'm not perfect, and sometimes I give it to him because I'm just frustrated, maybe that's how ag has been too. It's like, here, fine, here's some money, just go away and try to figure this out. Well, it's not worked great so far, and there's better ways to do it. So I don't know, let's take the passy out of AgTech and see what happens. We're slowly starting to see what we get from it, but can't have it forever. Neither can my 2-year-old. So there we go. We'll see you later.